Between the Bars. If you're wondering why I'm talking like this, it's because I'm recording this at a very normal and healthy time. Welcome to the second video looking at the music theory of Elliott Smith. I've been working on a video series breaking down Elliott Smith's music, especially the guitar parts, and going through entire albums track by track. Either Or is Elliott Smith's most popular album, and the fourth track, Between the Bars, is his most popular song, with 174 million streams on Spotify, more than the second and third place combined. In my first video on the music theory of Elliott Smith, I talked about analyzing his music on its own terms, so basically not using classical or jazz theory, but learning how he talked about his own music, and seeing what common themes emerge in his writing. The problem is, with Elliott Smith you can have one track that's a gorgeous a cappella ballad with an almost Baroque-style harmony, and then a raucous track with full instrumentation, including bright honking saxophone, layered guitars, organ, bass, and drums. And those two tracks are on the same album, almost back to back. While even those two tracks have similarities, he seemed to enjoy exploring a diverse sonic catalog, and each song functions mainly on its own, as a song. So with that in mind, let's take a look at Elliott Smith's most popular song, Between the Bars.
Sure days, do what I say and I'll make you okay. Just stuck in your head. It's just one of those fucking days.
This song is recorded in the iconic style he perfected over years of making simple home recordings. He double-tracked a guitar part, double-tracked his vocal, and usually panned the doubles each left and right. It creates an enveloping and quiet texture that's become synonymous with his music. This recording style can be heard throughout his first two albums, Roman Candle and Self-Titled. But on Roman Candle especially, we get to see the purest form of this approach. He recorded the batch of songs that would become Roman Candle while he was still in the band Heat Miser. He recorded all the songs entirely on his own, using cheap mics and a 4-track recorder in J.J. Gonson's basement, his girlfriend at the time and Heat Miser's manager. Many of the songs on Roman Candle were written years before its release, like Condor Ave, but it's actually the recording style itself that captures the largest picture of Elliott Smith's development as a solo artist. Anyone who's tried making home recordings or demos, even in our far cheaper, simpler digital world, knows that it can be a deeply humbling experience. When you listen to Roman Candle, it can be easy to forget what you're listening to. Someone playing often very difficult, intricate parts and singing straight through, full takes, no click track, cheap mics, fallible and futzy tape. As much as it shows off Elliott's skill as a songwriter, guitar player, and singer, you don't get the immersive sound and feeling of Roman Candle using only a 4-track recorder without a lot of experience with the recording medium itself. Elliott Smith played music from a young age, piano, guitar, clarinet, and he started making home recordings as early as 14, with the same equipment, a 4-track tape recorder. While he has expressed embarrassment in many interviews about the recordings he released in high school, and only a few of them are available online if you go looking, by the time he was recording the songs that would become Roman Candle, it's not unthinkable he could have amassed 10,000 hours with his 4-track tape recorder in those 10 years. It's always important to remember that a song like Between the Bars doesn't come out of nowhere. Years and years of practice, experimentation, and concept building can culminate in something pretty spectacular. Anyone who wants to try emulating the style of this iconic song just has to jump in and get started. Be patient, and thank God you've got a Scarlett 2i2 and DAW instead of a Radio Shack mic and a 4-track tape recorder. Between the Bars, like pretty much every Elliott Smith song, is a simple sounding but surprisingly difficult to play song. During the verses, he modifies a bunch of very standard guitar chords, A minor, F, E, and G, to create a unique sonic world for the song. But it's the chorus that really stands out to me. One aspect of Elliott Smith's guitar playing is that he brings out the bass notes of his chords by plucking them on their own with his thumb, usually on downbeats. As in many of his other songs, he uses this technique to turn the bass line into a melody of its own. When you combine it with the vocal melody, you get something called counterpoint. Counterpoint in music is the combination of two elements in a complementary way. This can refer to rhythms, lyrics, moods, or chords, but it usually refers to melodies. There are two common ways to create counterpoint with melodies: parallel motion and contrary motion. Parallel motion is a little simpler. It's the way singers usually harmonize melodies in pop music. You take two notes that sound good together, usually a third or sixth apart, and then you have the notes follow each other. If one goes up, the other goes down. If one jumps down, the other jumps the same distance. Parallel motion sounds nice, but it's a little one-dimensional, so it's nice to mix it up with a little contrary motion. Contrary motion is an equally simple concept. You move the two melodies in opposite directions. If one ascends, the other descends, and vice versa. However, it's a little more complicated in practice because, unlike parallel motion, where you take a distance between two notes that sounds good, like a third, and then just copy and paste that nice sound for the rest of the song, with contrary motion, the distances between notes, also called intervals, are constantly changing. And if you don't pay attention, you might end up on some unpleasant or dissonant sounding intervals that you don't intend.
There's a very obvious physical layout and visual layout that you can easily grab onto.
When it works, contrary motion creates interesting and deeply satisfying musical moments. It's often employed by classical composers during climaxes of massive symphonies, the low notes getting lower, the high notes climbing higher. It's like you're stretching the walls of the world. Let's take a listen to the beautiful counterpoint in between the bars, between the bass notes in the guitar and the vocal melody. To bring out the counterpoint, I'm going to play the bass notes and the vocal melody on their own and simplify the rhythms. I think a little counterpoint can bring a lot of beauty out of an already beautiful song. I encourage everyone to try adding some in their own music. It can be as simple as adding a parallel harmony line, or you can dive in deep and try to copy some of the sophistication of the contrary motion in between the bars. I want to thank everyone for watching and supporting this project and being patient with this video. Since YouTube's been giving me some trouble, I'll be uploading the detailed tutorial and playthrough part of this video separately. If you want to support this project directly, you can find donation links below. I just set up a Patreon. For only $5 a month, you can custom request content, transcriptions, and get early access to videos. None of these videos would be possible without your support, so a big thank you to everyone who's buying books and donating.